Welcome back to another Spirit Island video. In this video, we're going to be continuing our series of Is This Spirit for You? In this video, we'll be focusing on Ocean's Hungry Grasp. The setup is going to be 2 presents on your starting board, 1 in the ocean and 1 in a coastal land of your choice. The playstyle is extremely good at assaulting the coasts where the invaders start out strong, but quite weak inland. The ocean is not accustomed to affecting events so far ashore. Its presence shifts in and out just like the tide. It can be tricky to manage, but permits repositioning and tactical retreats or offenses in the hands of a skillful player. Has a fairly inexpensive, unique hand, but the energy gained from drowning invaders can be necessary in stepping up to more potent powers. Complexity is high complex. It's a high offensive spirit, some control, some fear, less defense, and little utility. I think the summary powers is pretty inaccurate. I think the control is a lot less. Same with the fear. I do agree with the offense, though. Flipping the board over, we have a special rule called the Ocean in Play. It says you may add or move presence into the oceans, but may not add or move presence into inland lands. So you're strictly on the ocean as well as those coastal lands. On boards where you have 1 or more presence, oceans are treated as coastal wetlands for spirit power, special rules, and blight. You drown any invaders or Dahan moved to those oceans. So there's ever Dahan that get moved to the ocean or invaders, they immediately drown and they die. When they die or when they drown, they'll be placed on your spirit board. Whenever the invader's health equals the number of players, that will get traded for energy. So in a 1-player game, if we drown a city, the city has 3 health, which means we are going to get 3 energy. So it says drowning, destroyed, drowned pieces, placing drowned invaders here. At any time, you may exchange X health of invaders for 1 energy, where X is the number of players. Okay, looking at the growth options, we are a 0-2-1, which means we're not placing presence on reclaim, and then we have 2 presence placement options. Our reclaim is going to give us a power card. It's going to pull presence from the coastal lands on each board into the ocean. It's then going to give us 2 energy. Our G2 is going to let us put presence in other, or I guess any board with ocean. Into that ocean land, it will also give us an energy. And finally, the G3 lets us gain powers and push presence on each board from the ocean to a coastal land. And then you may place a presence into a coastal land. So the growth options is how the ocean feels like the tides come in and out when I'm reclaiming my presence. It looks like this. When I reclaim on each board, I have to gather a presence into the ocean. And when I choose that G3, I have to do the opposite, where I push a presence from the ocean. And this allows some very interesting repositioning. Looking at the tracks here, we end at 2-5. The energy track is extremely mediocre. Like, all of this is just, in my opinion, just pretty bad. Just not really useful. The plays track is extremely powerful on this spirit, and the reason for that is because you're gaining a lot of energy via drowning, and this energy economy on top track is just not really useful. In addition, the best cards in the game tend to cost 0, tend to not have a cost. And when you get to 5 plays, you can play those cards for free. So, looking at the left and right innate, the left innate is just straight up fear, and the right innate is going to allow you to drown. It means you can put more invaders on your spirit board, which can give you more energy. And the first tier lets you drown a town, then a city, and then a total of 2 buildings total. Important to point out that both of these are 0 range and must target a coastal land, which means you won't be able to use those or your inland lands. Looking at the uniques here, we have Grasping Tide. It's a 1 energy fast, Moon Water, 1 range targeting a coastal land, 2 fear, defend 4. This card is pretty solid. 1 energy for defend 4 is pretty nice. The fear, I think is also pretty reasonable. But you must target a coastal land. Once again, emphasizing these lands over here. Call to the Deeps. It's a zero cost fast moon, air, water, zero range, target a coastal land, gather an explorer. If you target the ocean, you may gather another explorer. So when you target the ocean on for instance, on board E, you can gather two explorers to the ocean, or you can just gather one into a coastal land. Swallow the Land Dwellers, zero cost slow, water earth, zero range, coastal land targeting, drowning a town, explore, and Dahan. And finally, Ocean's best card, we have Tidal Moon. It's a 1 energy slow, moon, water, earth. Target another spirit. Target spirit gains 2 energy and may push a town and up to 2 Dahan from one of their lands. If Dahan are pushed into the ocean, you may move them to any coastal land instead of drowning them. This card is amazing. You target another player, they get energy, and then maybe their board looks like this on board D. They push that town into the ocean. They push those Dahan into the ocean, and those Dahan can get relocated to any coastal land on the board. So a way to maneuver Dahan as well as drowning stuff, which can help feed and generate you energy. So is this spirit for you? So Ocean is a very interesting spirit. A lot of players, they love the spirit. It's very thematic. It's very cool in what it's doing. It's very unique. Um, it's a spirit that is heavily offense. You're going to be killing a lot of invaders, especially on those coasts and ocean and inside the ocean. But those inland lands are going to become very problematic. And if you don't draft properly, if you're not communicating with the board, you may find yourself falling very far behind. You'll notice in my tier list, I have Ocean rated pretty low. And I'm not going to talk too much about the tier list in this video. Those videos are coming in the future. But one of those reasons is there are certain edge cases that Ocean falls into. For instance, if the same inland land comes up twice, and if another spirit can't actually get to that inland land to save it in time, you may cause the team significant problems. And that's like specifically adversaries like Habsburg, right? Where this land, if land 8 comes up, and let's say it builds, it gathers this, you take your loss condition. Well, now if it comes up in early stage 2, it's threatening 2 more loss conditions. Like you may just lose the entire game for the team. And that's partly because you're Ocean and you can't actually deal with that inland land. This is a spirit if you like offense, if you like playing across boards. I know most spirits can play across boards, but Ocean, it's absolutely essential if you would like to succeed with this spirit. Its defense, I mean, it pretty much does pretty much everything. I mean, control is probably the weakest. The fear is decent. It's just not as high as what's showing here. I'm pretty sure. I wonder if it's the same bar as Many Minds. I'd be surprised if it is. It even looks higher, but I think Many Minds is way more accurate. I think the fear, you pretty much only get fear off this card, but you have the defense. I mean, this defensive power, I mean, I don't know why the defense is so high on this thing with only 1 defensive power. It's probably a lot lower. And I think utility is pretty accurate. Tidal Boon is very strong. So pretty much a jack of all trades. You just have that one weakness. You can't deal with inland lands. Now, the NI expansion came out with a new ocean aspect, and that is Deeps. Now, Deeps is going to replace both of your innates here. And it's going to trade your left fear innate, and it's going to trade your right drowning innate for this new mechanic. And what it's going to do is the right innate is going to add this new token called Deeps Tokens. And I'll let you guys read it. It's a slow power, 1 range coastal. Add a Deeps to a different coastal land, add a Deeps to a third coastal land. So you can add Deeps, and this left innate is going to deal damage per Deeps you have to buildings. And then if you have at least 3 Deeps and no buildings, you drown all explorers and towns, you move the Deeps, and then that land becomes part of the ocean. So it's a way to drown lands, and I think this is so cool. So just to kind of showcase what it's doing, if I were to add Deeps tokens, let's say I add the Deeps to here, and then eventually I hit this second threshold on the left innate, I would then drown this land, killing everything, pushing the Deeps tokens, and all of this would become part of the ocean. Now, what that would do is now all adjacent lands to oceans count as coastal. So now this land will count for the purposes of exploring. If you're playing against Scotland, you'll explore towns. So this now is no longer an inland land, it is a coastal land. It's actually pretty funny if you're playing with a lure player and you end up drowning such that their inland lands become coastal and then their effects don't work anymore. It's really funny. Like I've seen that happen with like Softly Beckon, right, where it has to target an inland land, and then because of Deep's Ocean, it no longer works. So, and it's really cool to like carve out parts on the island and um slowly drown away the invaders. Uh, I pretty much see this as being standard ocean in my eyes, not in terms of like power level, but more just thematic or just looking at it from a theme perspective. Like it is exactly what ocean should be doing in my mind, and it also is one step further at getting rid of this atrocious drowned income, which I absolutely despise. And you've probably heard it in my previous videos. I hate this. It's extremely swingy. In solo games, you get way too much energy, and in multiplayer games, you just don't get enough. And I know players really like the mechanic, but in my opinion, I rather this just was completely gone, and you had a much better top track. Because that's another issue with Ocean, both Oceans to be exact. This top track just doesn't have any text because you generate too much energy from your special rule, or you don't generate any energy and you need to be like fed energy via like power boons. Like this track just is completely irrelevant. So I'd rather like this is redesigned such that there's an incentive to go top track and to generate energy. So is Deeps for you? It's pretty much just like Ocean. If you liked Ocean, Deeps is just more Ocean. Just instead of drowning things, your energy income is going to be a little bit lower. You're going to generate a little bit less fear, but then you'll have greater potential to drown lands. And I just think it's way more fun to play. If you like this video, like, subscribe for more content. I will see you guys in the next video.